Now I want to talk about the flow along surface command in Rhino 6 for Mac, especially when using the record history function. So you're probably familiar with the flow along surface command from the tutorial in the user manual for the warp text. The warp text tutorial in the Rhino 5 for Mac user guide um, talked about how to map a flat planar surface onto a three-dimensional form, and you applied a three-dimensional text to that surface, and then it appeared on the cylinder, maybe backwards, maybe upside down, but it was a way to correlate what was on the surface to the three-dimensional form. I think that tutorial actually does a disservice to the command, though, because it wasn't a very exciting form that you ended up with. So I want to show you today how you could use that function to actually create a more interesting design and something that's more dynamic and intuitive. So what we've got here is a simple bottle surface that you've seen before, and then a rectangular plane and a series of these tapered pipes along that plane. Now, what I've done is when I used the flow along surface command, I made sure that the history button was enabled. So now when I update the surface, the form itself should update as well. So we can test that. Here I'll go ahead and select the pipes and deselect by holding the command key and deselect the surface. And now if I elevate the pipes, it's going to take a minute to think. That's okay. I'm going to allow that broken history. You can see that it's updating this form over here. So that's really exciting because these pipes are still mapping based on this bottle form, but they're not even intersecting with the surface. So there's all sorts of potential in how you could design with this function. You could rotate the base form, and that's going to give you more of a diagonal here. You could just drag that base form over one way or the other to extend the pipes towards the top or towards the base. And you can see here, now they're kind of extending past the center line because, again, this pipe over here on the parent surface is extending past this edge line there. So you could drag it back down. You get something that's covering more of the middle section of the bottle. And you can see that whatever is on the surface is going to stretch and distort based on how the volume is stretching and distorting that flat planar surface. So this is great. I love designing for pottery and ceramics forms, and this is a really great way to model a whole series of forms really quickly. And with the enabled history function, you can intuitively make changes here and see what updates appear. So another thing to know about the flow along surface command is that when you use it, you can use it on the same surface on multiple objects at once. So here we go. We can just try this again. We're going to do flow along surface. And we're going to select those same objects. And then at the base surface, we're going to select the same plane. And we're going to select it near the corner of one edge. And then we're going to select the target surface. And we're going to try to select the corresponding edge that we would want that plane to map to. So we can choose that. And you'll notice on this angular form, it's only going to allow us to select one surface, one facet of that overall polysurface at a time. It's only going to map one to one. So this isn't going to map to every surface all at the same time. You'd have to go and manually connect to those. But you could do that if you wanted it to map to all the surfaces at once. But now what's interesting is that now we've mapped the same rectangle to both the bottle and this other form. When we update the surface here, it's going to actually update both objects at the same time because the history has enabled both objects are now linked to that original form.